So I wanted to speak a little bit about Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, one of my favorite novels in the expanded universe, Star Wars Legends, and for so many reasons. And I'll be brief. I'm not gonna go chapter by chapter, even though that is awesome, but I'm just gonna give my overall thoughts because I've read it in the past. It's been a couple of years since I've read that trilogy, but I'm gonna focus on the first book. Like I mentioned to a friend recently, I feel, and this is just my crazy way of thinking regarding the Darth Bane trilogy, I feel the first book is an epic. Pretty much the whole trilogy is. However, I feel the first book, Path of Destruction, is truly epic, and book two and book three are uh, epilogue of sorts. That's kind of the way my brain interprets this trilogy. And I love this book, focusing on the first one specifically for so many different reasons. If you haven't read it, if you love Star Wars Legends Expanded Universe, it's don't sleep on this. It is truly an amazing story. I don't even know where to start. By rereading, I mean I heard the audiobook, unabridged, obviously, and that just enhanced the overall experience. They did I believe his name is Jonathan Davis. I could be wrong. The gentleman who narrated this book, and truly had a great time, and just forgot how much. Well, I knew it's definitely a top five probably for me in the whole expanded universe, Star Wars Legends favorites, but yeah, one of my favorites overall, but by hearing the audiobook, it just made me love it much more than what I did before. And I truly love this book. Um, I'm not gonna go into detail. Like I just literally finished it not till today actually. And even though I know details as far as what in the whole story entails, but I wanted to jump on here really quick and just kind of share my thoughts on it. I think it's beautifully written by Drew Karpyshyn, fan favorite in expanded universe, for well deserved for so many different reasons. But I feel this book is truly uh, a journey of a man's life, a broken man's life. It does give insight in for Darth Bane, um, insight on his character's past, his father. He was from an abusive, grew up in a very abusive household, you can say, uh, unfortunately. And these memories of his father really feel this anger that he has and that he carries with throughout his life. So many points that I love about this book. Once again, I love the journey of this man's life from not birth, but it does give us flashbacks as far as childhood and certain situations and moments that you feel for this guy. I understand, we all know, most of us know that Darth Bane, even by title, he's Sith Lord. And it's not like we're rooting for this. Well, I'm not rooting for this Sith Lord because of these things that he does that are truly evil. But since the story is really focused on him and the dark side of things and the Sith specifically, we really journey with him, you can say, through this story, if that makes sense. So I felt, this is just from me, I felt not drawn to this character, but as a dark side user, as a Sith, definitely one of my favorites, and we're stuck with him throughout this trilogy, and especially like I said, the first one, which I'm gonna keep focusing back and reel myself into, um, focusing my thoughts on Path of Destruction specifically. I might make further video on another occasion with a rule of two. Like I said, I consider book two, book three to be like an epilogue, which I love, but the first one is truly like an epic life story of how Darth Bane became Darth Bane. Obviously, he didn't go with this name throughout his life. Bane was a name given by his father, and he wanted to use this once he became and discovered these abilities that he had throughout his life, what they really meant, and how to use them and how to focus on them. And once he became a Sith, he used that title or that name that was extremely derogatory from his father, but he explained why, even though it was a derogatory term given to him by his father, why he used it moving forward once he became a legit Sith Lord. But wow, so many thoughts on this. I do like the aspect that we are really we really spend time with the Sith. So we spend time on Korriban, on the academy, how he ended up in the academy and his journey through that. It's not a, I wouldn't say a fast-paced book. It did go pretty fast for me because I was just enthralled in it. But it's it's truly, you really enjoy it chapter by chapter. It's one of those books that you do not want to put it down. And it doesn't have any cliffhangers, nothing like that. But it piques the way that Drew Karpyshyn wrote this. It just definitely piqued your interest. I wanted to know more about Darth Bane initially, and yeah, read chapter by chapter. I just wanted to keep on reading more and more to see where this story took us, this whole life journey. So one aspect that I like is that, yeah, we spend some time with the Jedi because there are Sith. It's a new Sith war with the Jedi during this time, and it's much later than the Nomi Sunrider or Tales of the Jedi saga. Much later, and a couple of hundred years before, if I'm not mistaken, before A New Hope. So this is where it does reference. He does predict what happens to the Republic, and how it crumbles with this one Sith Lord, which we know who it is, and how that went down by watching the movies. But it is touched upon in this story how he foresees that. And Darth Bane really, really changed the trajectory, the path of the Sith completely in this crazy, crazy way of how he changed it, and wanted to focus on one master, one apprentice, which is something that we see the effect of this book in the movies. So even though this was written way after the movies, not way after the prequels, but not too long after, but we do see the effect of the events of this book into the way Palpatine does things and wants things done. The journey up until, it's divided into 3 parts. And like I said, all these chapters flow well. And his journey up until he reaches the Sith Academy is truly amazing. And we spend time, not completely, like I said, I keep saying that, 95%, I would say, or 90% of the book is with the Sith. Holocrons, discovery, the stories about betrayal, about anger, about abuse, about so many things, about a broken man, him, how he reaches this his potential, how he really tries extremely hard excuse me, extremely hard, and how he fails, and how he's humbled, and how he picks himself back up, and how he defeats people who have defeated him. And throughout his journey within the Sith Academy as well, there's some moments of failure, big failures as a student, and how in his own way, not that he's a humble person, no way, but how he is humbled, He is a strong person. He's strong in the Force, but he does end up getting defeated a few times, and that just gives him, with time, it fuels the anger and just gives him more power. And ultimately, yeah, I like that section when we're in Korriban and how he ended up in Korriban and how he became who he is, Darth Bane. So this book goes hand in hand with the Jedi, with the comic called Jedi versus Sith. And the last section, the part three, goes pretty much concurrently with, or kind of not concurrently. It's kind of it's the comic, and then part three. It's interpreted in the book with part three of this Path of Destruction book. So if you read the comic and then you read the book, you already, it's kind of telling it from another perspective and kind of retelling the events of that comic is what I'm trying to say. Sorry if I took a while to articulate that, but that's pretty much what how that comic fits in. I recommend personally reading it. I love that comic personally because of how the book interprets what those events are in that comic. So a lot of the things, if you read the comic, you'll see, and there's no particular order. You don't have to read the comic first or the book first. No, I recommend reading the comic first personally because it hits differently. But because you see the events that happen in the comic and you're like, oh wow, okay. And plus you already can picture how how these characters look, so that's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's not a definitely not a happy book at all. It's tragic. There's, like I said, a lot of betrayal, a lot of from different parts, from different people, and seeing we are in the battleground of Rusan. So being in the middle of this battle through story and seeing both sides, because yeah, even though we're spending more time with the Sith and Darth Bane and everything, the Sith army, it was cool seeing that, being just reading on regarding that. And it does, we do get familiar with certain Jedi that are obviously on the opposite side of the war. And the way the war ends is truly epic, and when it ends, that's when we have the rule of two established by Darth Bane. So that was just the characters. Githany, for example, is one that comes to mind. The characters from the comic in part three of the book, section three. That was cool seeing these. I didn't mind the kids from reading the comic. They do play, or one of them plays an important role in this rule of two. So once again, I'm not about spoilers. And once in a while I might have spoilers, but I don't want to give too many details away if you haven't read this book. And I know, once again, it's all my explanations kind of jumbled everywhere. Just so many thoughts about this. I highly recommend it if you're a Legends fan, curious about expanded universe pre 2014, pre Disney. This is one of my favorites. It's one that I highly recommend. It doesn't have any characters from the movies, obviously, because it takes place way before the movies, but it does reference a lot of expanded universe material, like KOTOR, Tales of the Jedi comics, characters from there. It really, and then also the movies. It does, as Darth Bane foresees certain things that happen that we are witness to watching the movies. That was cool. So it has a lot of different connections, even more connections I can't really think of right now. It does reference the comic once again in a huge way. So Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, epic, awesome. Please read it if you haven't. It's, you might have a different opinion about it. Obviously, it's all good, but for me, it's one of my favorites, and definitely it's right up there, top 5.